What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Sorry, I can't pop up in person for this video. It's because, remember, I said yesterday I have to get my hair done today. Big kind of like issue with the hairstylist. She was late with another client, so she's not able to come until much later. So I just wanted to get this out to you guys today. Let's get into this episode. We've got two love triangles and a breakup, so there definitely is an awful lot to cover. At the top of the episode, Tiffany and Jackie tell Micah about Chelsea being pissed over the conversation that she had with Chelsea's fiance, Kwame, by the pool, which, listen, I was like, okay, perfect. Like, this is true. She was upset. Like, let her know and maybe Chelsea will go ahead and apologize. But no, it turns out that Tiffany and Jackie were kind of like hyping up Micah, right? Like one of them said, listen, I think it was Jackie who said it was, I can't believe Chelsea's even mad because guess what? If you wanted her man, you'd have her man. And I was like, well, weren't you guys just hyping up Chelsea the other episode to go ahead and break that up, talk about if that were my man, I do this, that, and the other? Like, they came across very two-faced in this episode, and I was quite disappointed in Tiffany because, again, she is a fave of mine. So at this point, they do start gossiping about how obvious it is that Irina is not at all attracted to her fiance, Zach. And I was like, okay, well, that's at least obvious, and it's nice to see that, other people can validate what we're seeing as viewers. And then they actually go ahead and say that Bliss dodged a bullet when it comes to Zach. And Jackie even says that she wouldn't hire Zach as her lawyer. And I didn't understand why she said that. I was like, I don't know, like maybe he might be not a great guy to date, but I haven't seen anything like to kind of put his legal skills into question. So I did want to know. It kind of felt at that moment that Jackie had decided that she wanted to join the Mean Girls clique, right? Like, remember, the Mean Girls of the show so far are Micah and Irina. They laugh at people's pain and heartbreak and whatnot. They are very sadistic. I call them the what do I call them? The demonic duo. And so yeah, like Jackie's comments there really kind of made me feel like, damn it, girl, not you too. So at this point, Zach has been catching like the vibes from Kwame that he might be attracted to Paul's fiance, Micah, right? And so he tells Paul, listen, Paul, you need to watch out for Kwame because he has been flirting with your girl. And I was like, Zach, that is a good friend. Go ahead and tell him about that. Zach actually claims that Irina only wants to be affectionate with him in secret. And I was like, you know what, Zach, I think the reason that your fiance doesn't really want to be publicly affectionate with you is because she is in love with another man named Paul, and she doesn't want to disrespect him. I got to say, I do love the story that came out later, which was that my guy, remember, I love him. I think he's absolutely amazing. Marshall, what played a big part in Brett and Tiffany, the ultimate couple of the season, getting together. According to Brett, Micah had a date with Tiffany and he was like, wow, like she is incredible, but like the age difference, like she is way ahead of me, light years ahead. But I think that Brett would be in a good place to like have, a bond in a relationship with her. So I did tell her, do not let her go. She deserves a guy on her level, and that is you. And I was like, you know what? Every day, Marshall proves to me more and more why he is one of my faves. He is just I really like that. Okay. Now, remember, this was another love triangle that we've got. It's kind of crazy because the demonic duo are supposed to be best friends on this show. Meanwhile, Irina is in love with her friend's man. And Irina goes ahead and flirts with Paul at this pool party and everything. And he asks her, and he's flirting back. Paul is like, Irina, what do you like? What do you think of me physically? And she's like, you're sexy. I've never seen her call her fiance sexy, the disrespect of that. And did you guys also notice that whenever she talks to Paul in this scene, she goes from having her engagement ring on her ring finger to putting it onto her middle finger? Again, she does not want to disrespect this man that she loves, right? To hell with the fiance, but this guy will not be disrespected. Now, let's get into Kwame and Chelsea. Remember, Kwame had just been flirting with Micah hardcore at the pool in front of his fiance and in front of the whole house, just embarrassing her and everything. And so they get back home and she confronts him about his behavior after storming off to the beach all alone. And so Kwame heavily minimizes the extent of his conversation with Micah. He doesn't like cop up to how they were holding hands, how Micah told him she loved him, how he was playing around with her ring and everything, he claims that he did not disrespect their engagement, but he absolutely did. The effing liar. I was screaming like Khloe Kardashian at Tristan Thompson on the phone, liar. Now, I do have to say, good for you, Chelsea, for pressing on. Sometimes people can be very conflict avoidant to the point where they'll let people disrespect them just because they don't want to rock the boat by asking, the tough questions that need to be asked, right? And so she's like, well, why the heck did you guys need to keep on talking after she apologized for disrespecting you? Like, what more did you need? And so Kwame doesn't have a reasonable answer for that. Chelsea then asked him if he would have rather been with Micah, like been engaged to her. And guess what happens, y'all? Go back and watch this if you didn't notice it. Kwame says no, but his eyes immediately dart to the left. I was like, you damn liar. That is a telltale sign that someone is lying to you. So at this point, Chelsea accepts his answer and she's like, okay, then let it go and walk away into the life that we're going to have. And I'm like, girl, that is begging behavior. You've already lost that man if you have to do all of that, right? Like from the very beginning, you have been begging this man. You have been chasing for this man. I remember last episode, she's like, this man is everything I could have wanted. How? Please tell me one thing. I can't with this girl. Again, I like Chelsea and everything, but I need her to have to strengthen her self-esteem because this is not looking good. Okay. Now, Jackie made some comments that I didn't love. Remember earlier, she was being a little bit two-faced with Chelsea and stuff. And then she had some kind of rude things to say about Zach as a lawyer, like he could never be my lawyer, without really getting into why that is. So again, she makes some comments about Zach and Irina. So again, she kind of calls him like creepy or something like that. And then she calls Irina a peasant. And again, I'm like, oh, girl, don't be mean on this show. Please don't be mean on this show. It's not a good look, right? At the end of the day. And then I don't know, like I said last week, I find her a bit rough around the edges for someone as elegant as Marshall. And I do think that there's going to be some like friction there when he tries to integrate her into his world, and maybe even the reverse when he tries to integrate himself into her world as well. So I do start getting very, very concerned there, to be honest with you guys, because I know myself, and people who speak like this kind of stress me out, a little bit, because it's just very far off from the way that I speak. But we'll see how it all plays out, because again, we have not met their families yet. Now, Brett, I know a lot of people were talking online about his nails, you guys. I know. Here's the thing. I do agree that his nails are a vaginal hazard. So that's the one thing, right? But like some people are like, okay, well, maybe he plays the guitar. We've got to give him the benefit of the doubt here. So I'm like, all right, but I still do like Brett, okay? Now, Kwame and Chelsea, they decide to go ahead and visit a shaman at the beach in order to banish the cheating spirit within Kwame. And yeah, we'll see how that works out. I guess it kind of sort of works out, because he does actually apologize for his conversation with Micah. And will he kind of like stay away from her, stop disrespecting his fiance? Only time will tell. So let's get back to Zach. Things still are not advancing for Zach and Irina. She screams bloody murder anytime he tries to hold her, kiss her, anything like that. And so he tells Irina, listen, it takes two people for a relationship to work. Right now I feel like I'm in it by myself, and like that's a really difficult conversation to have. And Irina just flat out disrespects him. They're on a cabana, and so she just puts like a pillow over her head and stuff, and it's like, yeah, dude, you got to let this chick go, because she just is not here for you. And just look at, all of this is just pointing in that one direction, that it's not happening and you made a mistake. And so he tells Irina that they need to go their separate ways if she's not all in on him, and she just sits there. And you know what I think at this point? Irina, she realizes that she really likes Paul, but she needs to maintain the bare minimum relationship with Zach in order to stay in the experience, so that she can continue flirting with Paul and eventually get with him and ditch Zach. So that's why I'm like, Zach, please, 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 for the love of God, dump this girl, because she is just waiting. She is riding this out. She's waiting for her opportunity to dump you. Now, let's get into this conversation between the black men of the show. There was Kwame, we had Brett, And then we had Marshall all together. I love their brotherhood, I gotta say, talking about their struggles with being emotionally vulnerable, not growing up in very nurturing emotional homes or anything like that. And it's very important, because this is something that's very prevalent in Black households. And it's, like Marshall said, incredibly, incredibly important. So I love that. I know that someone said in the comment section the other day that they felt like the two white guys on the show, Zach and Paul, kind of more gravitate towards each other as if they're avoiding the Black guys. But I don't know. I do think at the same time, it is important to have these conversations about Black men amongst Black men. So I am happy that there has been space for that. And maybe Paul and Zach just so happen to click with one another very easily. I don't think it's like they're purposely avoiding the other guys or anything like that. Sometimes it's just easier to connect with people with similar backgrounds to you. You know what I mean? But I digress. Now, Zach, he actually does confide in Paul about regretting his pick, who is Irina. And Paul seems to not really be feeling Micah all that much either. And I'm sorry, y'all, this is going to be real rude, but I'm glad that the mean girls might be getting dumped. After the way that they laughed at everybody else's pain, I felt like, wow, this must be karma coming back for them already. So Paul suggests to Zach that why doesn't he get back together with Bliss, right? See if she'd still be up for it. And I actually do like what Zach says. Zach says, listen, Bliss deserves for somebody to be somebody's first choice, right? So like he does hesitate on that. And I'm like, you know what? I agree. Because I do think that it's important to acknowledge that and the importance of that. And, for that reason, I do hope that Bliss doesn't make it too easy for Zach to come back in her life, because again, he chose someone else over her, and all the amazing effort that she put into him and his birthday cupcakes and everything like that. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back that easily. I don't come back, period. Guys always come back, girls. I don't know if this is the same for you. They always circle back, circle the block. Don't take them back. I don't believe in it. But, there are some special cases. I digress. It's just not my vibe, though. So anyway, one thing that was really fun to me was that the group seemed to catch on to Micah and Irina being the mean girls. And the guys actually even talk about it, right? Kwame, I think it is, says that you are... Who tells it? No, Brent, I think. One of the guys, someone tell me in the comments, please. One of the guys is like, listen, like, you are the company that you keep. And Micah hangs out with Irina, which isn't a good look. And I'm like, yes, ain't that the damn truth? Call these girls out, because their behavior is just disturbing on this show. Now, at a certain point, Micah decides that she wants to pull Chelsea aside for a conversation. And Chelsea is well aware that her fiance Kwame is in love with Micah. So she's there with Kwame when Micah pops up. And so Chelsea, in all of her insecure glory, is like, oh my God, Kwame, I've got something in my teeth. Can you put a toothpick in it? Like, she doesn't have two hands of her own. To me, I was like, that's a bit embarrassing for you that you have to go do all of that, right? Because your man likes the next chick. I'm sorry, but what the hell was that? If my man asked me to toothpick his teeth, the way I would toothpick his eye instead, please, what do you think I am? Huh? No. Anyway, the conversation is cut short because there is a storm, and so obviously they can't stay out there. Paul, I want to say, comes home with his fiance Micah, and they talk about the day and everything. And he tells Micah about Zach regretting dumping Bliss for Irina, and Micah doesn't seem too happy about that. So we'll see how that plays out in episode 6, which is coming out in a couple of days there. And now let's get into the breakup. Dun, 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 dun. Before Micah could warn her mean girl bestie Irina, Zach and Irina have a conversation in bed, and they just ultimately break up. They realize this is not working. We've got to break up. And it was kind of funny when Zach was like, do you know what I think of this? She's like, do you want to know what I think? He was like, do you want to know what I think about this? She's like, now. That was funny. And then they just like kind of talk about like, okay, like, I knew it wasn't going to work from like the first moment we saw each other and stuff. And Irina did take a lot of responsibility for treating him terribly. She's like, I have never treated anyone like this. I can't believe it and whatnot. And what about Bliss? Bliss was a great girl. Do you think that you can go ahead and like try to connect with her again? And I was like, okay, that's nice at least. But why do it in the first place? Like, she should have put a stop to it. When you feel like you're treating someone poorly, why don't you take the initiative to say, you know what, I'm treating this person poorly. They don't deserve it. We have to break up. You know, like, why did the victim have to go ahead and pull the plug on this? I don't know. I don't love that. But yeah, again, she did tell him, listen, I knew as soon as I saw you at the reveal that I know, and I felt like I was going to leave you then. He said that he was going to leave her at a certain moment. So they were just like kind of like being, they were teasing each other, let's say. And then they kind of get into the fact that Irina has a crush on her BFF, Micah's man, Paul. Dun, 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 dun. So we'll see what ultimately ends up happening with that. Because in the preview, Micah finds out, and I don't know if she finds out directly from her best friend, Irina, but she finds out that Irina is in love with her fiance. And that's going to be quite interesting to watch play out. Also on the cliffhanger, Bliss, she meets up with Zach at a restaurant, and we're going to see what ultimately ends up happening. Is he going to repent for choosing Irina over her? Is Bliss going to forgive him? Will they date? Will they go their separate ways? Only time will tell. But again, well, you know what? Here's the thing. I would make an exception for this situation because it was very stressful, very like atypical and whatnot. It was like a pressure cooker. So if I were Bliss, I would give it one shot and see. But that's if she's attracted to him. Maybe like Irina, she's not attracted to him in person, right? She was talking to a wall all this time, and now here he is in the flesh. So maybe she might have a similar reaction to Irina, where she's like, never mind, I'm good. Peace out. Only time will tell, okay? You guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more Love is Blind recap. The character analyses are coming when the whole season kind of drops. I don't want to kind of like jump the gun on anybody, so I'm going to wait for all of that. But in the meantime, for more recaps and news about this, the cast, make sure to follow for more videos and let me know what you think about this episode. The two budding love triangles, Kwame, Chelsea, Micah, the demonic duel plus Paul. And what did you think about Zach breaking up with Irina and trying to get back Bliss? How do you think that's going to work out? Let me know everything that you think in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.